Hello and welcome to One More Run, a new show all about roguelikes, roguelites, and run-based games. I am Joe Baxter-Webb from the Indie Game Clinic. I am a game designer, and occasionally I get some time to play a game as well, which is nice, which is what I've been doing in preparation for this show.
I'm Shen, or Big Flat Cabbage, and I'm working on little hobby games on itch, and sometimes I draw comics.
I'm Tom, or Cheese on Cheese, and I'm a indie game dev working with one other, and I'm excited about run-based games.
I'm Dan, also known as Death Bulge. I did comics for several years, and then I spent several years on a single game. Maybe making another game. I don't know. We'll find out together.
Haven't fully recovered yet from the first one. We're all making games. Part of what happens there is you need to play loads of games for a reference. I always have this analysis paralysis about all of the cool games coming out, and I want to play them all, and then I end up playing none of them. So part of organizing this show was just to, like, every month or however regularly we end up doing it, just have a game that we've decided to play. And sometimes we might play something that is new and has just come out in the last few months. Sometimes we might play something that's kind of older and considered a classic. Sometimes we might play a strange piece of educational software from the 1990s. Like, why did we pick Bad North as the first game?
A solid game. We'd all already played it, so there was a lot of familiarity there, which made it an ideal game to start this podcast with. Yeah, and I think there was quite a lot to talk about. It's got a very distinct style. I think everyone generally enjoyed it as well.
If people are watching this on YouTube, they'll be able to see the game and see what it is, but people that are listening on the other podcast platforms won't be able to see what we're talking about. So, Shen, do you want to describe what someone would see on the screen when they boot this game up?
But it's very simple. I think this whole game is very marked by high impact simplicity. And, you got these funny little goobers. They got funny little pipe noses, and they all look kind of ugly, and it doesn't explain much. You go in and there's an island, and you got 9-person little units on these tiny little islands with funny names. There's Vikings that come in on boats, and it's gory, but it's like cartoon gory, but because the music is always very ominous, and there's like gongs, and when they get hit, they're like fall over and they die, and but it's all, you learn as you go. That's one of my favorite things about this game. Is I love a game where you get to teach yourself, kind of, and the game just kind of throws stuff at you, but not too much, and maybe you win, maybe you lose, but you have a good time, I think.
Yeah, it's really minimalist for like a RTS or tower defense type of game. It's like both of those. I mean, I got this on Epic Games as one of my 500 free games that I've subscribed to and have barely played. But this is one that I've played a bunch, though, at least. I don't have any direct references ready, but I know that at the time in 2017, there was a lot more focus on games becoming a lot smaller then, because the indie wave was kind of ramping up. A lot more people were appreciating smaller games around that time rather than it just being a hack.
The main thing that it kind of reminds me of, which was a few years old by then, was FTL, because you've got the node map. But it's interesting that we've already said the word campaign, because this game feels like super long by modern standards for one of these games. I feel like when I play Slay the Spire or something like that now, I either finish a game of it in an hour or I die in 20 minutes. I don't know, did everyone else feel like they were playing multiple sessions on the same run, 2 or 3 sessions?
But yeah, that means some of even the save slots will tell you how much time you spent on the campaign. It's 3 hours. You think, I've made a lot of good progress today, and then you look at the percentage complete of that run, it's at 20%. You're like, what? Hang on a minute.
It felt really long for a campaign, but I was just keeping in mind this was around 2017 when there weren't a million run-based games that are meant replay for 2 minutes, die, and start over. So it fits in well with when it was made, but I certainly found that it's a large time investment, I guess, for each run for me.
Yeah.
I just So it's like worth flagging at the start if someone hasn't played it and they're like coming to it as a new player. It does feel dated in that sense just because of how slow it is. The actual combats on each island are really snappy and quick, right? You get, I don't know, like 5 or 6 waves, and there's a lot of points where things could go either way, and it feels kind of tense, but the actual combats aren't super kind of drawn out.
Bite-sized chunks.
Did anyone actually time how long an island takes? Because I think it feels like the earlier ones feel like they go a little faster, and then how much? 2-3 minutes? They feel fast because you're like, oh god, I have to like click all the little things in the right places, and I gotta time my skills and all this stuff. You're really focused, but maybe the time passes faster than you think.
It's probably not more than 5 minutes.
Probably.
Ever for an island, though. You can pause, or sort of pause. You can slow down time where it's barely paused.
Which I really enjoy. Yeah. Like, I think the length comes from, like, the number of nodes, really, more than, like, the individual island or level lengths.
I guess we should talk about like the actual UX of what you're doing with your mouse, right? Because you can play the entire game just with the mouse. There's a controller mode, there's stuff you can do with the keyboard, but the keyboard is just doubling up on controls that you do with the mouse. So if people can't see this game in front of them, you've got an island and the camera's kind of locked on the island, but you rotate the island around and you can look at it from different angles, and sometimes there's little cut-throughs and caves and stuff. So it has this really nice sort of toy quality of the island. It doesn't have a visible grid on it, but the spaces you can move your little units onto, they are kind of a grid of squares, but that kind of only shows up when you're moving them around. It's not like a visible grid all of the time. One of the things that I really enjoyed playing this is there's a fuzziness between the fact that only one unit can be on a grid space at any given time, but then when they're in combat or they're moving between spaces, they sort of cross over. There's like a grid space where the unit knows it is or is going to, but then sometimes they like run off of the space to fight each other as like individual units within that unit. And there's just something really pleasing about the kind of weird level of control you have over it. Because you always tell them where to go, but occasionally the little individual members of the group will do their own little AI thing. And it's kind of like you're trying to learn what they're going to do in different situations and apply that as you play the game more and more.
Yeah, that's what I really appreciate about it, because when you're making games, like having a grid base is really helpful for making systems and like making rules that this attacks 2 cells away or height differences. But where they have it where every individual unit has its own little AI simulation under it, it does the stuff you're saying, where if 2 units cross paths, maybe your commander that you want to keep safe is going to get hung up and blocked by other units, or they get stuck on a ledge or something like that. So it gives you the simplicity of like highlighting a cell, clicking it, and making your like a normal turn-based brain decision on what you're trying to do. But then like from the battlefield commander perspective, it's like, I told y'all to go over there, but they're getting really stuck on the way, and it usually doesn't work out well when that happens.
I often found myself like trying to get 2 units together to sort of hedge my bets. So I might have like one behind the other and then cross them over back and forth, like when some of the ones at the front get injured. So there's kind of this constant thing of like, do you send them off on their own to either sides of the island to defend it, or do you try and keep them as together as you can? And, you know, maybe your archers are up high because that's the best place for them, but then you don't notice that one of the enemy units has like snuck round and gone up a hill that you didn't know, and then they're attacking your archers and everyone else is down on the beach. Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens because of the levels which are generated and the verticality of the levels. And I don't know how much that's factored in as part of the difficulty, but sometimes they only have like one route up the hill to defend, and sometimes there's like a few different ones.
I think it's something I didn't recognize until like quite a bit in. You're like, you can zoom in quite a lot.
Yeah.
And like it's really nice to do that, like enjoy like all the artwork and stuff. But then when you do that, it's it does tempt fate a bit, because then next thing you know, you've got like one of these brutes, or like a massive, like a load of troops on like the other side of the island, just come in quietly, like you can't see them because you're zoomed in somewhere else. It's like, oh, I guess I should have this zoomed out, but I want to look at the troops. I like to enjoy their little graphics and all that. But then you die.
Yeah, optimal strategy is actually to be maximally zoomed out and constantly spinning. Like when the level starts, I just like immediately mouse swipe so hard, and it's just zoom, and I'm like, oh, there's a boat, and no, stop it. And then I go.
Just clawing at the screen, trying to wave the fog away.
And one thing about the grid system too, which thinking about it, is that it also constrains for the player the like type of strategy they should be thinking about, because that way as a player it's like, okay, like when I move a unit, I'm not going to be freaking out about like, oh gosh, the exact pixel or quadrant of part of the grid, that because I feel like as a player you might be really tempted to like try to mess with like, well, if I place it just like this little bit of extra distance to get this thing, and I think so the grid is like, because the little guys have their own AI and stuff, so it's a little better for the player to not be worrying about like where to click, or even worrying about what part of the shore is clickable and not clickable and things like that, because and it's funny, I'm watching the there's some pre-recorded footage of Bad North being played, and I'm in pain watching this because I keep seeing the person playing it placing their units right at the shore where the boats are coming out, and I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah, this is my footage, and I'm quite bad at it. So I was probably the worst at this game, and it's because I'm greedy and I don't want to lose any houses. So for anyone who hasn't played this game, the kind of risk-reward thing on each island is, if you save all your houses, you get a gold bonus, and you use that for your upgrades as you go along. But you're gonna like put your dudes at more risk by saving the houses. And I think the reason why I failed quite a lot in this game was I was really unwilling to let the houses burn.
I didn't let any houses burn, and I also did not place my units right on the shore where the boats are going.
But there's a house there.
Then you charge in when the boats come in.
There is, so I think this was something added for the Jotun edition, where characters had starting traits or specific traits, and one of those is sure-footed, which would mean that you could place them right at the coast of like a ship coming up to the shore. Like they could just stand there and they will be unfazed, and Joe could enjoy being great at the game.
You start off with these two commanders, and they are both kind of classed at the start. And then as you go through the game and you survive waves moving through this node map, you're being chased by the Vikings on the node map. So if you've played FTL and you haven't played this, it's very similar. And eventually it might catch up with you. And that's the end of the game. As you go through, you're collecting coins, you upgrade your commanders. You can spec them into being infantry with shields, archers, or pikemen. The pikemen can't fight when they're moving. The infantry with shields are very good at defending against bows. And if you kind of save more houses, collect more gold, you're going to have more gold in order to like upgrade all of the parts of your force. And you can only have 4 in play at a time. And that means as you get deeper into the game, you might end up playing one island with 4 of them, and then another island with 3 of them. And it means you get 2 turns within a turn on this larger map, which was something I struggled a bit with, because if you do 2 islands in one turn, you're going to get more coins, or you're going to like rescue more commanders, because that's how you get new commanders, or you're going to find more of these, like you can get these magic items that give people a one-off ability that they can use every like 2 minutes or something like that. It was a really interesting decision point in the game, but it was where I usually ended up dying, was when I got a bit too cocky and was like, I can do that island with 2 people or whatever. It's good that they put it in, but I found it very, very frustrating.
Like, I can do this in like with like 2 or 3 troops, and then you do it,
feels so
but
good.
Then it's like, to actually make the use of this advantage, I need to also complete another level with the remaining troops, and then that just goes terribly. So it's like, what was the point in the first thing?
It's really minimalist again for like a RTS game. So the most you're ever going to have is 4 commanders for a map, and The enemies don't have commanders. Like, they come in on boats in a group, but they all kind of work independently. But with the way you move them around is simple. You've only got 4 guys max that you're managing in an individual round. When you get your upgrade stuff, like, it's just coins. It's one of those games where coins are the only thing that does everything in the game. But since you're like always spreading yourself super thin in every level, you have the max of 4, and like you were saying, later in the game you might have 2 or 3 extra. It kind of feels like the commanders you have are getting like real XP, because when you put them in a round, like, you are using them. You have to really use every single one, and you have to risk every single one. So rather than some like XP bar that goes up for a different commander, like, it really feels like you're putting them in the battle each time. You're getting the coins each time, and then you're upgrading them each time. So it just feels really in line, I guess, when you have a commander for the full run and you're boosting them just enough, because they kind of have to be in each battle to get the value out of them.
Like, you get these coins are like, mainly like skill tree points, because you're like paying to like make your soldiers better, be it through their skills or the item that you find, because sometimes an island will just give you an item which is completely random. Sometimes you get a good one, sometimes you get a rubbish one.
Yeah, and then you have to learn to use them, which can sometimes lead you to like hurting yourself in the meantime, where you don't know how to use that item, which is an interesting learning curve. Speaking of island generation, sometimes these islands, they've got some funny names.
Funny?
Yeah, they've got some funny names. And I love it when a proc gen game has proc gen in different places. Like, some of these names I think are like 2 words put together. These are supposed to be tiny little, I guess, Anglo-Saxon settlements in the North Sea. And some of them are quite convincing, others not so much.
Okay, hassle.
On. Literally just O-N.
Humbug.
Lump.
Hump.
Rock.
Isle of Sorts.
I don't know why that one tickles me so much. Crunch.
Hornholm.
That's wonderful. Norby.
Inchkeith.
And Fugloy. Some of them are so goofy, and there's probably people that have played this game for like 30, 40 hours and never noticed that they have the islands have these silly names like Cornholm and stuff, because it's not like in your face humor. It's just this background, extra bit of yo dog, I heard you like procedural generation, so we put extra procedural generation in your game where you wouldn't look for it, kind of thing.
And it sticks in the bio of your little commander, so you could have like Agatha of Lump or whatever. It's like where they came from or something.
Yeah.
Did not notice that. There's very rock, paper, scissors too, in like I don't want to say clean rock, paper, scissors in the game, because there's different types of units, right? So you haven't played that. I think a lot of the learning curve is about learning which units counter which types of Vikings better, and also how to like effectively execute those counters. And I think that's sort of how I approached the normal mode of the game, because we were talking about how it can feel like it drags on because of the number of nodes and the length of the campaign. But you can check off at the beginning of a campaign whether to allow level restarts. And that is huge if you are trying to learn the game. Because I actually initially jumped into hard without level restarts, because I was like, I played this 5 years ago and I killed it, I can handle it. And I got so mad at like 30 minutes in because I like forgot everything. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll play a normal run with the level restarts. And that was really good for like, being like, okay, let's see if I can beat this with 2 units and get away with it. But also it was experimenting and learning, basically, so that then if I were to do the hard run without the level restarts, it's like you have to be I think you really have to be equipped with that knowledge of like how to utilize the units. And like it's like there's a decision point of what to bring to each island, again, because you get 4 and there's several different units and you can upgrade them and they have different skills, and there's different Vikings, and then there's also the moment-to-moment decision point when you're actually fighting.
I liked running it without the level restarts because I'm a bit of a masochist when it comes to run-based games. Like, I want to lose And it was nice going, like my first run, a few runs I did normal with no restarts. And it was kind of nice, like when I would get to a point where like everyone would die and I would feel the weight of the bad decision that I made. And then the next run, I would get into scenarios where I would be really scrapping by with one unit and a command left. And I guess it's important to say, like, each commander's group of 9 units can get decimated. It's just if the last one dies, you lose the whole commander. So there's a lot of times where you can just barely get by in a battle, and when you go back to the world map, it's fine again. You don't really have a consequence for that. So I had a good time not doing level restarts, but the campaign is so long, it does really hurt when you've put 2 hours into something and then you have to start over just because of one little dumb mistake that you made.
Yeah, you can send your guys into houses and they sort of heal on the map while they're fighting. But yeah, I sort of struggled with that. I didn't play it with the restarts at all, and then I ended up playing it on harder and harder. And the thing that I didn't manage to actually finish a run, but the thing that I was struggling with in the game was I wasn't enjoying the failure. I would call it the Monopoly problem of, like, people don't mind losing games, but they hate games that take a very long time to lose, which is like most people's experience of playing Monopoly, like especially with the house rules that people add to the game to make it take longer to lose. And like, so in this example, it's like you might have 5 commanders and then like 3 of them get wiped out on an island, and it's like, okay, well, I've still got 2 commanders, but the game is now so hard that it's basically like a soft lose condition. Like, I really, really like this game when you're sort of doing okay, and I just wish the losses were like much more along the lines of like everything gets wiped out in one go. I don't know, it does kind of remind me a little bit of FTL in that regard. And I guess the other stuff it's pulling on is sort of like squad management games like Darkest Dungeon and even like XCOM, where like XCOM has got like this long tail thing of like, you're doing a campaign, you build your guys up, you care about them, but you also just have to like reckon with the fact that some of them are going to die. And that's like fine in this when you're losing 1 commander at a time, but sometimes you're losing like 2 or 3, and then you basically have lost the game, but you have to concede, or you just have to keep playing it even though you know you're not going to be able to finish that run. And that was kind of a thing that spoiled it a little bit for me, even though there's loads of other stuff in the game that I do really like.
Yeah, like I don't think there was a single time where I had to, like, I lost a bunch of commanders and then went on to win the run. Like, I think that pretty much dooms you, because there is that flee option. Like, you can, if you've got someone left and you don't want to like lose everyone, and you know you're going to lose the island and not get any coins or houses or whatever, you can just get on a boat, and if you can make it to a boat without the enemy getting to you, you can like leave that island with like that any commanders that flee. But I think at that point it's like you might as well have just killed them, because that run's probably, it's probably possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I usually give up at that point.
Yeah, I had a couple scenarios where I would lose like 1 or 2 really good commanders, and there's an item called a golden chalice that you can resurrect one commander once with it. But when I lost the 1 or 2 early in run, it was kind of fun because it was a big blow and I had to like recover and try to come back. But in FTL and X and other games, like you can often have like big losses, but then it's built into the game design to recover a lot of times. And in this, it's like, yeah, if you lose 2 or 3, like you're just done. I was in one run where I only had 1 commander left, and it's like you literally can't do anything with that. And the game doesn't even give you a give up button. Like you would have to go into a level and just have the 1 unit die to lose the run. So that's something I didn't enjoy about it, was that there was no good bounce back for a lot of the stuff.
I did have a funny, because I was actually playing it earlier today, and I had the chalice, the grail that allows you to revive a commander, but all my surviving commanders already had their item slot filled with other stuff, so I couldn't actually use it. I didn't have anyone else to actually equip it to, so I couldn't use it to revive. So that's always a risk.
Oh, I didn't know it worked that way. That's harsh. Yeah, it's like if you compare it to FTL is much more invested in like you telling a story about being like a Star Trek captain, and like the drama of everything breaking and stuff is part of that. But yeah, you can recover from it. Whereas this is much more of just like, yeah, it is a minimalist RTS. It's about doing battles. There's no like story points between missions or anything. And it is very much committed to doing that, like, how can we make the most minimalist RTS with just like 3 types of units, and it's one of those games where I think there's like a fatal flaw that, like, playing it again now makes me not like it or want to play it again after this. But I do really admire it. Like, there's so many things that it does really well, and like the minimalism is one of those. One of the things that you probably all noticed this, but there's like no text or numbers when you select a commander. You see their name, and if you hover over their moves, it tells you what it is. But everything is communicated diegetically. Like, there's no health bars because the units basically, their health is how many dudes are in the troop. If a building's burning, you know what that means. If a building's blacked out, you know what that means. Like, everything is communicated without text and stuff. And then when you do get into the menus and the map and there's text and everything, like, the graphic design is beautiful. It's this sort of like cartoony version of I guess it's kind of supposed to look like the Bower Tapestry or something, like some cartoony version of like an Anglo-Saxon art thing, and some really interesting like color decisions of like the whole game is this kind of dim looking neutral colors, all pastel, but then the commanders all have these very neon color banners so that you can quickly distinguish them, which I guess is a normal strategy game thing, right? But it's I really admire how this game looks and how it controls and all of like the toy quality of it. And it's really just those bigger decisions about how harsh it feels to lose so slowly in a campaign of this that spoil it for me.
Really like too that with the unit selection in a lot of RTS games, like you want to bind them to keys like control 1, control 2. And this, it lets you do it still, because when you start a new round, you can change who goes in slot 1, 2, 3, and that's what your keys are bound to. So I would always put my archers on slot 3, but it just doesn't have all the control overhead. Like, it's still just one button click to do specific things. And you brought up the buildings where they just read their damage as if they're on fire or not. But they also, rather than having health bars, it's just damage at once, where if an enemy will stop attacking them for a couple seconds, the houses will just heal themselves. So it does a really good job at it's kind of like there's a pressure point that you need to pay attention to, and if you're not there enough, the house will get lost. But again, you don't have to worry about health bars. It's just how long units are attacking for it, and that's it. And it's nice that there's just not crap everywhere on the screen to distract you.
It really adds to the tension of the fights too, when there's just so little, when it's like there is information, but you have to you gotta zoom in or you gotta look really closely, I guess, and that kind of forces you to, I guess, be a little more present in a way, whereas otherwise I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm sitting back and here's how the numbers are going, and okay, it becomes less of like a detached numbers thing and more of a more of like my little squad, oh no, there's only 3 of them, oh no, the houses are burning,
Yeah, you really got scrutinize. Like, how many troops is there? Like, do I justify putting them in the house? Like, there's only 6 of them now. Should I risk putting them in the house where I can't use them until when they can come out? Because that's always a bit of a weird moment, because you think, I don't think 4 of those are going to be able to keep that brute guy away. So, what do I do? Do I put them in the house and just hope they come out before he gets to the island? Probably won't.
I just remembered there's one point during combat that you might get like a little pop-up over one of your guys. Really? And I bet that they didn't put that in until later, but I'm so glad that it exists, because it's like the thing that you really need to remember. They're like power cooldowns. When they've got their... the different units get like a different power, like archers can shoot stuff up in the air and it comes down at a point. Swordsman can dive off a cliff, and then also you get some active powers from the item that you equip on them, and being conscious of how long is left on the cooldowns on those becomes like, wasn't really like paying attention to that until I played like 3 or 4 runs, and then after that it's like that becomes a big part of the thing to master. It's like, I probably need to like use all my powers straight away, because otherwise they won't charge again during this island, and then I won't get 2 uses out of them. And then there's loads of positioning to learn with those. You get the Warhammer that allows you to like just whack-a-mole space and like knock everything out. Yeah, you can like hurt your own guys with that, which I learned a few times the hard way. But also, if you whack the ground just as they're coming in on the boat with the Warhammer, especially if there's 2 boats coming in at the same time, you can just pop them all straight in the sea. And like pulling that off is so satisfying.
Yeah. I think all the items have like friendly fire. Like I've definitely taken out entire units of mine and also the enemies with the bomb and the mine. They're great items, don't get me wrong, but the bomb, I've got a very mixed relationship with the bomb, because I think it takes a while. It takes a while for you to actually throw it.
Yeah.
And because you usually use it in like a really real-time moment, like I think the idea is to like use it when the troops aren't running through spaces, but when they're actually still and fighting you. But when they're doing that, if you throw the bomb at them, you're going to hit the other unit as well, because they're right next to them. So it's like, when's the ideal time to use this bomb? You just have to be really good with the timing, I think.
Yeah, and it's the tile thing again is where it's kind of novel in this game, because when you place the items, it's on one of these big chunky tiles where the islands are only like 5 by 5 or 10 by 10 at most. So you need to kind of like see how the individual enemy units are moving, pick a tile that represents where you think they're going to be represented as, but it's still like real checks of like where that bomb explodes. It's like whatever unit is around it will hit it. So it's weird thinking about the grid and not the grid at the same time when using the items in there.
Your guys can be upgraded like just the base of their class, and then they get more armor and do more damage and everything, but like every other thing that you can acquire or upgrade is like a toy that you have to learn how to use. They all have some sort of positioning thing. Like I could never pull off the special of the archers where they just sort of rain down on a particular square. Yeah, and it's kind of like you have to have the enemy pinned with a set of pikemen, and then when they're pinned in place, then use the archers to finish them off with that ability. Because the way that the abilities are given to you, it's like they're never just like a silver bullet. They always require you to kind of still coordinate your units to get the most out of that particular ability. Like they require quite a lot of trial and error to learn, and that means the items that you get take even longer to learn, because you're not going to get them every run, and then when you do, you don't get to use them very often, because like if you've got 2 units of archers, you have twice as much time to practice with their special move. But if you've got one guy that's got a warhammer or a bomb special item, you just don't get to practice it as much, and that kind of means that your skill with how to pull off that ability just doesn't go up as quickly as the other stuff.
With the bombs and the mine, you can like upgrade, and I think one campaign I actually had someone with like 4 mines. Like they could plant like 4 mines. I think the bomb has a maximum of 2.
I think 2.
Maybe. Yeah. So I guess that's not as much practice. Ironically, I think the mind is what you need less practice for, but then you get more practice because then you can put like 4 down per battle, and like that at least with the mind you can like preempt, so there's no like real time. Oh, when do I set it off? You just throw it down, and you just wait and laugh.
Yeah, the practice is key there, because it's like you're saying, it's not like it's just a lightning strike that immediately goes down. So you're not really learning like how to throw a bomb in the game. What you're learning is with the current positioning of my units and the enemy units, like how are they going to behave when I do this move? And you kind of learn subliminally, like, oh, I need to get this unit in front of them out of the way so they can move faster, or the bomb's going to take a second to set up, or there's, on this map, there's a hill that my units have to run down first. So there's a lot of timing that you just kind of have to intuit to get really good use out of the items. But when you do, then they're like OP for clearing out a whole boat or something like that.
Yeah, because I guess with the like things not like being completely loyal to each grid space, like it definitely adds a lot of chaos excitement, like moment to moment. So I really do appreciate that. Although sometimes I think it makes me less confident. Sometimes, like I'll have like a bunch of troops with shields. Like I'll have 2 of them in a place where I know there's going to be a lot of enemies, and I'll just be kind of clicking, making them like run backwards and forwards just to make sure they're going through the space I want them to, because they keep dispersing, fighting everyone. Like, are they actually going to follow those archers or whatever? Because sometimes you'll get the archers love to just like cower and like run off. So you'll think, oh, I'll put them there, and then they'll kill them all. But then there'll be like a couple of archers that like run off. Yeah.
That was really annoying sometimes, because if I wasn't paying enough attention to clearing out a squad of archers, I would have to like waste time to send my little shield squad over to slaughter the archers that were hiding over in the corner. But I actually really liked that timing was kind of the secret, like, extra dimension to the game, not just with skill usage, but like there is this, especially in the last, I think the last leg of the campaign, like because of there was like, you get harder enemies and there's more enemies, but also I think like being able to clear enemies fast enough where you can have enough time to send in a unit to replenish and then come back out, I think kind of became important. So I think a lot of the mastery of the game is the timing of all the different stuff. And also like someone saying the timing of where the enemies are moving, and it takes time for your guys to run over to another side of the island where there's guys coming, and then also predicting the AI behavior, which was a little funny at times. It was interesting. For instance, like if there's and this is also what was fun about the island design. If there's like a fork in the island, let's say, like if you have 2 houses, I was trying to defend all of the houses, and so if the boat's coming, I have to like, you're also kind of like in your mind like visually calculating the angle at which the boat is coming on the island, so you can figure out which tile is it coming on, and then I can like place my units in advance or plan the timing of okay, like I'm gonna send this unit over or this unit over. At some point, if you're trying to use a minimum number of units possible, you don't actually want to just kind of sit a unit down and just kind of let them stand. There's not really, it's a little tower defense, but it's not really like tower defense where you just sit them down. So that's like then once they come in, and then the boat lands, and there's actually, once the boat landed, there's that like little bit of frame where when the boat lands on the shore, there is a stun mechanic. And actually, if you're watching the video, you can see that when the boat comes on shore, and if one of your units is standing right at the shore, a few of them actually get hit by the boat and get knocked over, and that's not good. So when the boat is landing, there's that time, the bullet time, that I would use a lot. And I may be abused a little bit, because when I figured out, if you hold space, you can just constantly be in bullet time, and I was like, I'm just holding space now. but
you do what? I didn't know that.
I was like, oh yes, this is too much. But I was doing it in the last leg, and that frames when the boats come in, and I have my guys at least 1 tile back, and then as soon as there's the boat doesn't come in,
there's a nudge.
Yeah, there's a nudge. Yeah, the boat, the speed of the boat increases just for like a little chunk as it's coming ashore, and then that's your cue of it's safe to go in, and then you can send in your units or whatever it is, or launch a bomb or what. That was like the moment I would shoot the bomb, because I'm like, okay, they're coming in now. So it's fun little stuff.
Yeah, I love the boat, just the boat mechanic in general, because it just reinforces the theme of the game, because you're protecting each island against Vikings that are coming in. And so every enemy is coming in on a boat through the fog in the distance. So you get this fog of war where you don't know what's happening, and then you see a giant boat with like 20 little dudes on it coming in. You can see the unit type, so you get a little bit of like, oh, this boat has all archers or all brutes or a mix of 2. So you get to make these like really quick decisions about where to put your units around the map. And since it's all Viking themed, they've got really good sound design where you hear like war drums or like a horn, like signaling that enemy units are coming in. When your guys are standing on the shore, it's given the good vibes of like I've seen a few old movies with Vikings where the whole units are standing at the shore and like waiting for the approaching enemy to come in. And the nudge mechanic that you were talking about where the boat hits, you even get these really subtle cues within the individual units where they'll actually like tiptoe back and it'll make little footstep sounds like blip, blip, blip. And that tells you that those units will get stunned. So without the game like yelling at you about it, it's giving you these really subtle hints about the invasion stuff. Even the pikemen, they'll be standing there, but when a boat gets close, they'll go all like, "Ha!" and they'll put their little spears up in reaction to the boat coming in.
I had such a nice aha moment when I realized that the pikemen were strong against the brutes.
Yes.
They'd been like kicking my ass, and then I was just like, aha, I can just poke him with sticks. And, and like you said, there is all of these little tells. I didn't know about the boat nudge thing, but I think that all of those things are what contribute to a game like this having like a potentially really high skill ceiling where you can just keep getting better at it, because you can learn things like that, right? And that the fact that there are all of these little tells and that kind of thing, it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the no text, no numbers, but just that commitment to showing everything on the screen and putting all these little pieces of information in and making some of those emotional, right? Like having the little characters look like they're sort of chickening out a little bit, and then that is actually giving you game information if you're paying enough attention. That stuff's fantastic. The other thing I really like about the theme, apart from like, you know, generational trauma, because where I live in the UK is where the Vikings first landed. We have a commemorative Viking ship like 5 miles away at the top of the cliff where the Vikings landed, and everything around here is called Dane this, Dane that. So, you know, my ancestors were probably murdered by a Viking at some point. Not all of them, or I wouldn't be here. But the thing I really like about the theme, very easy to just immediately go for big fantasy or sci-fi themes when you're making a game. So what do you get out of the theme of it being Vikings, other than just like people think Vikings are cool? And the thing that really stood out to me playing this is, even though you've only got like 3 types of units yourself, and there's only about 6 types of enemies, isn't there?
6.
There's not many. There's like
6.
Yeah, and you obviously they come in different types. But can you imagine if you played a tower defense game for this amount of time and there were only 6 enemies? Or if you played like some fantasy RTS like Warcraft and there were only 6 enemies, you would be like, I want my money back. But there's like something about the minimalism and the theme, like having a sort of historical or pseudo-historical theme makes it make sense that there aren't that many enemies. Whereas if this was like a fantasy thing with wizards and stuff, you'd be like, well, I've seen goblins, now I want to see dwarves, now I want to see skeletons, you know? So there's something neat there where the sort of the historical setting makes it stand out and makes it a little bit different from most games that would do this. It also just lowers your expectation of how much variety. And I know that sounds kind of cynical, but you know, if this had been like you're throwing fireballs and lightning around and there's goblins and stuff, the expectation of just how much stuff would be in the game would just be way, way higher. And it's just a really neat side effect of having a sort of more grounded, realistic kind of setting, because there's no magic in. I mean, there's items that have a sort of over-the-top effect, but it's mostly just, you know, historical stuff that could be in a, you know, Age of Empires game or something like that.
Yeah, it didn't feel like, oh, there's not enough enemies. But I don't know if I'm just saying that as someone that would dread what they would add if I was to say like, oh, please add more enemies, because there's a couple of enemies. I think the jewel wielders and the brute archers, like those are nasty pieces of work. I'll explain them a little bit. So the jewel wielders, these guys, they run off the boat, and they can just immediately jump you. And I think the only troop that can really survive it decently is like a max level shielded unit.
Mid-level shields are still okay, but yeah, they have to have shields.
Yeah, and like they, weirdly enough, they don't actually go after houses at all. They just go straight for troops. And a funny thing I realized was that if you've got troops in houses, they will just wait outside for the troop to re-emerge and then immediately like go in. So like that might save you if you've got like a shit hot infantry unit, like gold level 3, like, you know, refreshing in a hut, and they're waiting outside. They might regret that decision, because you'll come out with your 9 units or 12 or 16 units, depending on what, you know, skills or items you've upgraded. That could be a funny little moment. Like, yeah, take that, you waiting outside my house. You should have destroyed it like everyone else does. You bozo.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, with the there's only so many unit types. Like, I think it's because the UX is really minimalist, the art style is really minimalist, and that like helps the game expectations be small too. I feel like if they went more extreme on any of those three, it would make the other stuff feel weak. But it's kind of like it gives the affordance of like, oh yeah, this is a minimalist game. There should only be 6 unit types that change it. But like you're saying, there's only 6 units. There's this rock paper scissors mechanic where you have melee, pike guys, and archers. The enemies sort of have that mix up too, except they have brutes instead of pikemen. But it makes you like have to constantly size up, 9 different strategies or 16 or however that multiplies, where one solution will work, but when you see like a big boat of archers come in, you now have to move your units around and reposition every single time. So it's got a good variety in that.
Yeah, the limitation does actually make it a lot easier for other aspects of the game to work. When, as soon as you see that enemy type, you will remember, because there's only 6, you'll know what that one's like, what that one does. And when they have the little icons on each, so you can see what enemy types are going to show up on each map. So you'll see just by their heads, like, oh, I know that one's going to be there, so I will plan for that. I will put these troops on that map. And like, I think you wouldn't be able to do that if you had a lot of enemy types. Because an extreme example, Binding of Isaac, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items. The amount of times I've picked up an item and I'd immediately had to go to like platinumgod.com to like remind myself, what the hell does this item even do? And even when I read the bio, I'll be like, hang on, what does that mean again? Even going on the website, it takes me a while to actually find the item of that. I think you can search for it, but when you're trying to, sometimes, having a small variety of troops like definitely helps in you not having to explain things as much, because you'll just immediately recognize what a certain enemy will do, and it'll just be
it's like trading breadth of content for like depth of content. And I think part of the reason it works as a challenge is I think it's balanced a little. I don't want to say the word better, but it is balanced differently in hard mode, where these really difficult enemies pop up earlier, because then like it's like as a developer, or a design, it's like you get a little more bang for your buck if like if the enemies are really challenging. Because then the player can take some time to be like, how do I beat this thing? How do I not completely get destroyed by this one type of unit? And yeah, just with the simplicity of the thing, it's like of the enemies. It's funny because just another example is like in the game, there's text descriptions for stuff like items that the squads have, but then otherwise like a bunch, like not just with the enemies, but also with the kind of squads, like you can kind of just tell what they're supposed to do just based on like they're holding a spear, or like they're like, this enemy is big and it's got a giant crossbow, and wow, it just shot like a giant bolt and just skewered my guy. Oh, I know what that does now. Like even if you forget what it does, now you remember what it does like in the first like 10 seconds.
I'm trying to recall what my memory was the first time I saw one of those brute archers, because they look exactly like a brute. You know they're gonna be like really strong, lots of health. You'll have to get your spears out, and but then you notice, hang on, what is it doing? That looks like a massive bow and arrow. Like, so he's got range. Like
just taking pot shots at my guys, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you joking?"
Yeah, that was definitely the point where I had to like just like go on the wiki.
It's kind of fun how much skill-based stuff is in this game, when I guess it has to be, just because there isn't a huge variety of items and things like that.
I mean, there is some stuff you unlock between runs, but it's mainly like the ability to start with different things. But a lot of the design ethos of this is very traditional roguelike in the sense that you do have to learn stuff. You won't get better without learning stuff. And it is all behavioral. Like Shem was saying a minute ago, if a big guy comes in and kills you in a certain way, like the game teaches you in this very visual and emotional way that like, oh, you need to learn a different way here, you know. And it's like economy wise in a tower defense game, if you don't get ahead far enough at the start, then you're going to get like the flying wave come in and kill you because you haven't like diversified enough. But this does that with skill, right? So you might be like pushing like one particular way of doing things because that's like the way that you've optimized, and it's like the way that you've learned, and then something just comes in and trumps you and you just don't have another way. And there's nothing in the game that is like numerical based. Even when you're upgrading your troops base stats, it just says they're going to be stronger and hit harder. There's nothing that's like this is 5, this is you can't sit there and look at a bunch of data about the units and math things out. You really just have to like learn everything as a set of behaviors, and then that also includes the real-time aspects of like how fast is this, you know, how quick is it to go up there versus across the flat. I think it's really neat. It's I would love to see more people do stuff with the basic UX and everything of this game, like the way that you command units, the way that the levels are built, and just build like the same game but with a slightly different meta structure in terms of the going from island to island thing. I think I would love to see not necessarily a Bad North 2, but like the same core battle engine used for a game with a different structure. Yeah. Maybe with less nodes.
Yeah, I just needed a little less notes, just a little bit.
I get that the longer structure does lend itself to that kind of XCOM-y type thing of, you know, you're losing people and you're feeling bad about it and you're soldiering on. But it does really stand in stark contrast to what we're used to at the moment with even quite hardcore run-based games. I think that the other, you know, comparing it to Darkest Dungeon, it's like, okay, you are going to have these total party wipes in Darkest Dungeon, but they never really put you closer to like totally losing. You know, because you in that it's like I've got 12 heroes and now everyone died on a run and now I've got 8, and it's like, well, you can still recruit 4 more. And I think, you know, in that it's like very easy to replenish and keep going in the middle, even if you have these really low moments. Whereas in this, it just kind of feels like the game is always just pushing you to rage quit whenever you have one of these halfway.
Yeah, it soft locks you, definitely.
Yeah, I would love to see more games that are a little less numbers heavy. I mean, I love numbers, and like, I mean, we're gonna pitch games at the end. I'm gonna pitch numbers game, but like I like certain kinds of numbers. But like, I think there is something to be said about these types of games. Like, I think first they're easier for people who aren't used to, who either don't like really, really heavy systems in their face, and like people who are maybe a little newer to games, like because everything's kind of visual and kind of a little more intuitive, right? Like from the sounds and the visuals and the way the game teaches you and ramps up, that like it's a little more like accessible in that way. And like it somehow feels fresher somehow when there's less like, oh, well, you're telling me I have to like look at all this what the heck's going on, I'm just gonna ignore it. Like, I'm actually the kind of player who's just like, what are you telling, if the game tried to tell me too much, I'm just gonna be like, I'll figure it out. I'm ignoring you. I know I'm not reading, you know? Yeah. And this,
as someone that made an RPG, I am crying right now. I am so sad. There's so many menus and numbers in the game. I'm just thinking, what have I done?
I cannot comment on that.
That's fine, but I don't think you should. If you're listening to this and you think Bad North has just the right amount of numbers or lack of and menus, then yeah, do not play my game. Or better yet, start playing the game and then just don't go in the menu. Don't go into combat. Just run around. Around and do nothing else.
I do think it's for the type of game though, because when I play this, like I was learning for what I'm working on, where like you don't have to show everything, and that makes parts of the game fun. So in this, when you're in the world map view, you do see what kind of units will be in the next encounter, if there's going to be brutes or archers. But I noticed it doesn't tell you how many of each. There could be like one brute, or there could be 100 brutes. And at first I was a little frustrated, and I come from a software engineering background where you want to tell your users everything about the tool to give them all the information. But in the game, it's actually pretty fun to like not let someone know, and they have to kind of like weigh the it's kind of like the RNG is there, where it's like, well, I know there's brutes, but I don't know how many, so I'm going to take a gamble and not bring in my pikemen because I want to save them for this next level.
Yeah, it creates uncertainty.
And it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think there's certain kinds of uncertainty that are actually very fun. Yeah.
Yes. But in a game like Death Bulge, like you want the certainty because you're going to choose an attack and you want to see how it combines with another attack, and Balatro and stuff, those need the numbers to make an informed decision on it. So it depends on the game, I think, for sure.
Although Balatro's still got RNG in it. It's poker.
Oh, yeah, but you're definitely, like, wanting to see how all the numbers add up.
Yes.
But they intentionally didn't put a calculator in the game, right? They didn't put in an estimation of what your full total will be. You still have to kind of leave some of that to your own brain, I guess.
Yeah, I think partial information is really powerful for like risk reward judgments in games, and we see it here really well because, like you say, you can look at the islands on the map and you know how many coins you're going to get from the island because it highlights the buildings as like little yellow things. So it's kind of making a mnemonic thing for like, these are basically coins, right? So you can look at an island and go, oh, that's worth that many. And then you know roughly what the enemies are, but you don't know how many there are. And you know if you're going to get a new commander from the island, and you also know if there's a relic on the island, like a special item.
But not which relic.
But not which one it is. It's a question mark. And that's just like loads of really nice, squishy, like partial information for you to go about. And I think whenever anyone's making one of these games, there's always loads of questions around that. And with these node maps that you get in like Cult of the Lamb and Hades and stuff, like the way it's done in Slay the Spire is you know what the challenge is at each point. You know, it's going to be an enemy or a special enemy. And you can, over time, learn what the reward you might get from that is, but you don't initially know. And then, like on Hades, you pick the next room based on the reward you want, really. It's kind of like, oh, I want health, or I want this kind of shop, or whatever. And, like, there is this thing of, like, you want to give people enough information to make a choice on, but you never want to give them, like, 100% of the information, because otherwise the choice isn't interesting or exciting.
Yeah. It's, like, enough to be meaningful, but not enough that you can, like, plan your whole thing ahead of time. Although I guess in Hades people try to do it anyway, but...
I think the enemy types, that was a new thing that was added for Jotun Edition, because I definitely that was definitely not there when I first played Bad North. Like, you didn't know what enemy types would show up until they were on the boat.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been a while. I don't remember.
Well, you're making me doubt now, but I'm pretty sure when I played it, the first time I played it.
Yeah, so they basically rolled out the game, got a lot of feedback, and made it better. Like, Jotun Edition is the only one that, like that's it. That's the game now. You don't buy DLC or choose a different copy. Like, it's the 1.1 or whatever they would normally call it for an update nowadays.
I actually kind of appreciate when there's not too many items either. Because sometimes I'm just like, now it's just like filler, kind of. But everything felt meaningful here.
I'm curious, when y'all lost a run, do you think it's because of was it generally because of a bad decision you made on the map or like upgrades? Or was it because of a bad decision you made in the combat? Like, what was more of a weightier decision that led to you losing?
I think the most common cause was, thinking I could get away with, less than 4 troops on an island, and then Mr. Jewel Wielder comes along. Thanks, mate. Boy, is my face red with blood.
Yeah, I think the way I would put it is, as long as I made the correct decisions about what units to bring, which I generally did, unless I was deliberately like, let me see if I can get away with it, then, and like, cause I feel like when I played, I feel like I picked up on the type matches and how to deal with the different enemies much faster than I remember figuring it out when I played several years ago. So then, as long as I brought the right units, like, toward the end, if I was losing, there was one exception where I was like, I just needed to upgrade this unit. That was dumb. But like, otherwise it was just like, I borked my timing, or I lost focus for 2 seconds because I was stuffing snacks in my face or something dumb, and then I just messed up the execution and somebody died. And then I restart level.
I thought it always seemed fair, which was nice. Yes. Like, there is some RNG in the procedural generation, but like, I think most of the time when I lost, I felt as the leader of the commanders or whatever, like, oh, I spread y'all too thin. I chose a bad upgrade, or even like in an island, it's like I made the bad decision to try to move you out too far. And it was rare where I was like, oh, this damn game cheated me. It always felt like it was my fault, which I like for taking the responsibility on that stuff.
This situation I remember many times is I would always be hedging my bets and putting 2 melee units next to each other, and they would get mixed in, and the commander of the like weaker unit would be in there, but I couldn't tell if he still had 1 or 2 guys because they're all blue. So they'd be like in there waving his banner, and I'd be like moving them back and forth, and I'd need to extract him to send him away to heal, but I couldn't quite see whether he had like 2 or 3 guys left, so I would just push it a little bit too far. But yeah, it's got that thing. It's kind of like if you ever played Advance Wars, right? You've got unit sizes in that, and it's like the health of the unit is how many little people are in the unit. So it's like it determines the damage output of the unit and how frail it is in terms of defending itself. And there's the same thing here where I don't know if that's really how it works in terms of the way that the game is balanced, but like when you're down to 1 little guy and there's that tense moment. But yeah, I kept like smushing my guys together and then like losing because I couldn't see what was happening. But I mean, I had that same feeling of like it's fair and it's kind of my own fault thing. I think the thing that's different about playing on difficult is you just on the hard mode is it takes a lot of those decisions away from you. You get less opportunities to mess up by splitting your forces too thin and stuff, because you just don't get as much opportunity to play as many of the islands. So I didn't find hard. I don't want to say I find hard easier, but I found it harder to mess myself up through my metagame decisions playing the hard mode, because there was less latitude to like try and min-max the game by like going to every island and getting every piece of treasure and stuff like that.
I get the impression from the game that it's very physics based. Like I really like that. I love that. Like with the arrows, like you'll see like 9 arrows, and then that just means there's 9 times as likely to like hit this one troop because there's just 9 arrows and they've all got their own hitboxes. And, like I really like that. And actually, on that note, I think one of my favorite like moments in the game is because something I found out was while they say like, oh, they're better when they're at a high altitude, they're like high up and they've got that vantage point to like shoot. I found that if you have them like right on the ground level and like shooting, because of the horizontalness, they have more of a push. And it's so satisfying. Sometimes a huge group of enemies will come in on a big old boat, and it'll be coming in at such an angle where the arrow troop can just like pick them off from the side, and you'll just see them all just flying off the side of the boat. Like, even if it's like shielded enemies, they'll shield it, but then they'll still get pushed off the boat. Fun. So like that's really useful. Yes. I love that. I love the that's how you can just pick people up in the boat and
every little unit's simulated, so you get the RTS fun out of that. But they're really in the physics world, right? They get pushed and the shield guys hold up their shields at different angles and stuff, and it makes a lot of emergent stuff, which is nice.
Game clinic. I can't remember who it was that found this out, but 2 of the people that worked on this also worked on Townscaper.
Yes, I told you wrong last time where I thought Townscaper came first, but I think I checked and Townscaper actually came after Bad North, so that was my bad.
I thought it came first too. Yeah, I was mistaken also.
I mean, it might have been started beforehand and just they didn't really know what to do with it, because it's kind of a toy, right? It's almost like a painting software, but for just making a type of 3D thing.
It's fun and I love it. It's very satisfying, and like you can see the Bad North in Townscaper, but Bad North was certainly like they procedurally generated the levels in the game. But Townscaper, you get to just build the whole thing up live with all their wave function collapse or whatever they're doing for it.
I think even the little plip 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 noise that the soldiers make in Bad North, I think that noise or something's very similar is also used in Townscaper when you're like putting up buildings and stuff falls in the water. It's also like,
man, I wish they would have like Townscaper had a Bad North update where you could build a town and then have Vikings invaded or something. God. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to try and pick another game to play now. If anyone's familiar with the game Vampire Survivors, where you level up and then you get to pick from 3 things. Before Vampire Survivors, that had never existed in any video game ever.
All right.
Dan's going to be the person that gets to pick this time, and you've got to sell it to him because you want him to pick yours.
All right, Dan. So you love being contrarian, right? So this game is the least family friendly, probably. It's a slots game. It's called Clover Pit. It's grimy and disgusting. It's about gambling addiction with none of the glamour. You wake up in like a dingy little room. There's a toilet in the corner that you can pee and poop in, and
classic family experience.
Oh, it's fantastic. And there's a slot machine, and you seem to be in debt with the devil or something, and you have to make some amount of money in a certain number of rounds, and you can buy like charms, and there's also like there's some person who calls you on the phone from time to time, and you can ask them for things.
Well, the banker in Deal or No Deal. Mysterious man on the phone.
You change the probabilities and the payouts on the slot machine, and there's also a big red button. I think everyone likes big red buttons, and you pull. You only get so many pulls on the slot machine in a few rounds, and you got to deposit your coins. And if you deposit enough coins, you get to live for a few more rounds, and if you don't, then the floor opens up from under you, and you go. And you play again.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
I thought it looks like it's like if Luck Be a Landlord and Inscription had a baby, kind of.
Yeah, nastier, and it's good fun. It's good slots. I like gambling. Let's go gambling.
Cheese. What do you wanna pitch?
So since it was a run-based game that's a little more accessible. I was looking at a few that came out last year, and one that was actually recommended to me from somebody in the Indie Game Clinic Discord is "I'ma Let You Cook," and it's a cooking roguelite where the premise is I think you're running a food truck on a campus at a university, and you've basically just got an omelet. That is your game space where you're stacking ingredients, and it's using very Balatro-like things where you put all kinds of ingredients on the omelet. So you might have like broccoli or tomatoes or cheddar cheese, but the tomato has stats on it. So the tomato gets like +2 points, but if it's touching another tomato, it loses 2 points. And if you have cheese, it might have attributes like chewy and dairy, and every piece of cheese that touches, let's say, meat, it might get a bonus. And then on top of that, you have tags. So you might have relics you get in the shop, and it's like every touching piece of chewy ingredient gets ×2. So you end up with this like combination of like frantic cooking mixed with, again, the Balatro, like malts and chips things with a little bit of physics-based chaos. And then on top of that, it's just got a really goofy pixel art aesthetic. And my first run, I lost it because I got a bag of trash, and I thought that would be good on the omelet, and apparently it wasn't. So the big bag of trash made me lose the run.
Wow.
And after each run, a giant chicken judges you about the omelets you've been making and if they're good or bad. So
I sat down for this.
So it was goofy. It looked like there was a lot of depth, and it's pretty accessible. I think it was like I didn't lose that bad I won the first run. I got to go to endless. So I don't know. I thought that was a pretty good candidate, and it was pretty fun to play. I'ma let you cook.
I feel like this is the least exciting of the 3, but I've been playing a lot of Birdigo, which is Balatro with Scrabble, but as the name suggests, it's also birds. Now, I will admit the birds are not really that integrated into any part of the gameplay. They're just hanging out, because it's a casual word game. The birds are just dancing around in the background. You do something good, they dance a little bit more. It's that kind of vibes. You have these like letter tiles, like a Scrabble bag, and you upgrade the letters so that they're worth more points. And then you have the Balatro scoring of like, a longer word, you get a bigger multiplier, and then you've got these kind of, they're called feathers, but they're basically jokers that give you different scoring conditions. And the thing that I've really liked about it, and that makes it quite funny and kind of counterintuitive as a word game, is some of the scoring conditions you can get actually encourage you to make really short words, or like words with two of the same letter next to each other. So you're like deliberately trying to build your bag of letters so that you can make words like poo, or anything with two O's next to each other, or you're getting rid of all the A's because you can't put two A's together in the same word, but you can put two O's next to each other. All of that kind of stuff.
You said birds have nothing to do with the mechanics of the game, yet there's feathers.
Yeah, I mean, there's feathers. They're basically just joker cards from Balatro. That's my pitch. I wasn't a very enthusiastic pitch, I'm aware, but I feel disheartened because I feel like the other two are very much your sense of humor based on everything I've seen about your art and comics so far.
Well, you're just saying that because I said I was a contrarian, and you're saying if I tell him that I don't think he'll pick mine, then he's going to pick mine. Well, I'm not falling for it.
The mind games. You're giving me far too much credit there, I think.
I will say, as someone that actually has quite a history of posting unconventional omelets on social media and getting a nice hefty helping of disgust. At one point, I made like a pea omelet. I think I triggered a lot of people's trypophobia.
I am so happy because I got into omelets this year, and I made a tuna salad omelet. Made a pineapple omelet. Maybe, yeah, this is good stuff.
It was this after you started playing. Were they inspired by your builds in the game? Okay.
Well before. Yeah.
I think I will have to go with omelette you cook.
Yes. Yes.
It's a great name. We're playing Omelette You Cook then. So if people want to play along at home, that's what we're playing. I feel like I've seen someone playing it on a stream. I think I've seen Northern Lion playing it on a stream.
They just released their 1.0, it looks like, this year, but it's been out for a year. It's pretty successful for an indie game. So I'm excited to look at something kind of new.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening to this pilot episode of One More Run. This has been an Indie Game Clinic podcast. If you want to support what we do here, head over to patreon.com/Indie Game Clinic. There's lots of good stuff over there to do with the Indie Game Clinic YouTube channel and Discord and all of that kind of stuff. My co-hosts here were all drawn from the Indie Game Clinic Discord. I went in there and I said, who wants to play a run-based game once a month and then talk about it for a while? And then people went, oh yeah, I might be up for that. And then I don't know if I could talk very much about it. And then we just successfully talked about it for 2 hours. So I think everyone's done really well. So yeah, go and support us over there. And that means we can pitch increasingly expensive roguelikes every month with more Patreon backing. Eventually there'll be like, what was that guy? It was the Wu Tang album where Shrekley bought the only copy and it was like in a golden box. Does anyone remember that happening? Maybe eventually someone will make a roguelike like that where there's only one version and it costs like hundreds of thousands. We'll be able to afford that when that eventually comes out. Yeah, go and support that. It gives you access to the Discord as well, and you can like pop in and chat to us about the games as we play them if you're playing along. We're all game designers. If you were listening to this and thinking they're talking about some real nerd stuff here, we can't help it. We're game designers, so although we're kind of playing these for fun, we're also going to be engaging with them with designer brain and like thinking about like stuff we're kind of taking from these games. I think with Bad North, there's stuff that we will all have kind of learned from it that we take forward into things we do as well. Thank you, and see you next time.